Hey guys, how's it going? So the latest breaking news just happening today regarding the Hearing Protection Act and Short Act is the Senate Parliamentarian has approved a $0 tax on the NFA items that were originally supposed to be repealed in the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill. And I say so-called is the emphasis on that. Now, this concerns silencers, otherwise known as suppressors, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, and any other weapons. Now, some actually say this is a big, quote, win, including the compromised gun lobby. Yeah. And apparently, the Republican-controlled Senate is willing to still listen to this parliamentarian. Well, here's what I have to say about this. Unless we can get the complete repeal back in, the Republicans, the 2A lobbies, and this whole budget bill can all literally F off. Why would it even matter if there's the trifecta of Republicans in the House, the Senate, and the presidency if we can't get what we actually want, which is to repeal these items off of the NFA? See, look, the $200 is a huge infringement, obviously, and I reject the premise of that. However, that was never the most draconian part of the National Firearms Act. See, you have the registry. You have the fact that these are highly regulated items, making it difficult to transfer them to people, even to let a friend borrow it. To pass these things down as an inheritance, for many of the NFA items, you have to get a permission slip to even cross state lines. And this is the part that we all reject, including the money. But look, the money, repealing it down to $0, that's just low-hanging fruit. That's just something to give to the Simps. And that's something to allow people to sit and cope with and say, oh, look, we got a little something. This is the second best win. I mean, that's literally what the GOA said. And the NRA and the FPC and all of these that wrote that Simp letter saying, oh, look, we want to repeal it all. Which, look, I do believe them. They want to repeal it all. But if we can't, we'll still take it as a, quote, win if you just reduce the tax down to $0. No, a little bit less of a loss is still a loss. I hope this whole big so-called big beautiful bill without the NFA repeal, it's actually a really ugly, nasty bill. I hope it fails. Good luck during midterms, Republicans. Hopefully Trump can step in. J.D. Vance can step in at the last minute and figure this out. Otherwise, have fun, Trump. Being a lame duck president over a split legislature. That's what I predict is going to actually happen. And that'll actually be a good thing, because then nothing will get done. And as long as these people do nothing, we're actually a lot better off than when they're actually trying to do something. That's how it works in Washington, D.C. Look, before I jump off here, I'm going to tell you guys a couple other reasons why I think this is a bad thing. If they can raise the tax down to $0, but keeps these items on the NFA now, what's going to prevent when the Democrats are in charge next, and with them like abandoning gun owners and 2A absolutists, single-issue voters like me? Trust me, Democrats will be in charge again. That's how this tide's going to turn. What keeps them from taking the tax and raising it back up to $200? No, they won't do that. This is Democrats. They actually do stand true to their convictions more than Republicans. What's to keep them from putting it up to $5, $1,000, $10,000, $25,000? Yeah. The other problem is a lot of people are going to cope and say, well, look, now I'm going to load up on tons of NFA items because the tax is free. This is actually going to normalize gun registration. Remember, the NFA is a registry. Even the version that's on the budget bill right now is a registry. Registration always has, and I believe always will, lead to confiscation. People are just going to go in droves, because I just know how so many people are. Look, I think most of my viewers are pretty smart. You guys get it. But a lot of people are just going to flock to these free tax stamps. Just like the free train ride, if you know what I mean. Look, this is all a bait and switch. This is a big bait pile. They want as many of these items registered as possible. And I think this was the plan all along, actually. In the Senate, probably by many of the 2A lobbying groups as well. To try to get, oh, we'll dangle the carrot over here. And while you're just running for that carrot, they're like, oh, here you go. we'll give you this little teeny crumb. Now, I don't consider it any kind of win at all. This is all a big debacle at this point. But many will think, oh, I get to register it for free. Building that registry as big as it possibly can, making it where in future years when they just want to add regular rifles and pistols and all kinds of things to the NFA, people will be like, dude, it's not a big deal. It's free. People will be sitting there with their hundreds of free tax stamps saying, dude, we've been doing this for so long. This is just the way it always is. This normalizes all this. And I think it gets rid of any real chance of actually repealing these NFA sections in the future. And by the way, for all the people who currently collect tax stamps and will be joining in as fast as they can on these free ones, you think wait times are long now? Wait times are literally going to go through the roof. We're talking, in my opinion, probably years, because so many more people will be applying for them. And if they're not bringing money in, I already know how the government works. They're going to say, well, we can't afford the staff to process these because now that the tax stamp's $0, we don't have the money to do timely fulfillments of the tax stamp. So even those who do want to do these tax stamps, you're going to get screwed. Also, I thought about this for a second. Part of the process, it's a long wait time. You have to fill out a bunch of paperwork. All right? And really, the whole process to getting an NFA item, just think about this. This is what I'm going to end with and let this sink in, is actually almost identical to the process of when you get arrested and then booked in jail. No, it's true. When you go to jail, you get a mugshot. Well, you actually have to take a mugshot and submit the picture with your form for an NFA item. When you get booked in jail, they take your fingerprints. And that's exactly what they do when you get an NFA item. You have to put your fingerprints forth. Also, when you get arrested and booked in jail, your local police will find out about it. Well, yeah, when you buy an NFA item, you have to notify your CLEO, your chief law enforcement officer, so they're notified as well. When you're arrested and booked in jail, you're put on a list. You're registered as an inmate. Well, you're also put on a list and registered as an inmate when you buy an NFA item. And this whole thing's insane. I reject the premise of all of it. And I do not think this is a small win. I don't think this is a good start. I think this is actually a trap and it's a bait and switch. And if this goes through right now, the way the Parliamentarian has approved it, where these items will still stay on the NFA with all of its provisions, but just with this $0 tax, I think we're going to be worse off. And I don't want to compromise. I'm sick of compromising. I'm sick of all of these games. I'm sick of the gun lobby at this point. I'm sick of this so-called one big beautiful bill, this ugly bill that puts us trillions more in debt. And almost everything that Trump wanted is out of it now anyways via this Parliamentarian. I'm sick and tired of being run by Parliament. And I'm sick and tired of these Republicans and Democrats pretending they're different when they campaign and want to get reelected. But then when it comes time to actually do something, they're both just two different sides of the same coin. Or, as a lot of you like to say, two different wings of the same bird. I'm sick of all of them. And that's why I'm just venting and hanging out with all of you, actual normal people, who actually get it. And I'm real frustrated with all of that, but I do appreciate you all. And let me know what you think of this, and we'll keep you posted on any further updates. All right, thanks for watching, and have a good one.